2025. We will start with our workshop agenda. Thank you each for being here. We will definitely start with introduction of the commission members and opening remarks. We appreciate everyone coming here. We appreciate NTSU for allowing us to be present and here and with the department. And at this time, we will start with our introductions. And we will actually start with Mr. French.
Hi, good morning. My name is Daniel French. I'm the West Tennessee representative.
I am Rebecca Farley from Cumberland County.
Abby Hickey from Bristol, Tennessee, obviously the East Tennessee.
I'm Katie Capshaw. I'm the librarian from Middle Tennessee.
I'm Linda Cash. I am a superintendent representing the state out of Southeast Tennessee.
Mike Bell, representing or out of East Tennessee, McMinn County.
I'm Billy Bryan, and I live in West Tennessee, and I'm a high school teacher.
Lori Cardozo-Moore representing Middle Tennessee, and I was appointed by the Speaker Sexton.
Sherry Robertson representing Lebanon Special School District.
Rebecca Atkinson representing the public school library, in Cumberland County.
Christy Wallace, Assistant Commissioner, representing the Department of Education as well as Commissioner Reynolds today.
Nikki Jones-Wallace, the State Library Coordinator, representing the Department of Education.
Thank you. And we have a July 30th, 2025 Commission meeting workshop agenda items that you can see below. They will be the Schedule E Advisory Panelist Scoring Report, Appeals Process for September 12th meeting, Schedule F of the Textbook Adoption Cycle Timeline, and Schedule L Scoring Rubrics. So we will start this morning with just Schedule number 3, Schedule E Advisory Panelist Scoring Report for preliminary scores and materials. And it goes to our director, Ms. Lee Houston.
This is to let you know on the advisory panelists in the fall, we started the adoption cycle for Schedule E, and we submitted all the submitted bids of the text or the publishers that submitted bids. They had a rigorous oversee of their materials, and then we conducted our own. We had the experts from the state. They had training in April and a 2-day training, and then that is going with Tennessee Code Annotated 4-6-2201, and that was at the March 13th meeting that we decided who those would be. They had their training, and then they went straight into the scoring rubrics that were provided by the state, and their alignment guides. All the textbooks were reviewed by at least 2 people, and you guys decided that there would be 80% of the rubrics alignment and 100% of the standards. And then those are the thresholds, and we'll have questions about those when the meeting starts or now, either one. But those are all completed for the first round, and then the next round of appeals will start when this meeting is over.
Any questions? Ms. Houston, would you remind us of the what we were reviewing at this time, please?
We had 2 of the CTE sections, and that was all. There were no core subjects this time. The core subjects will be next time.
Thank you very much. We are moving on to number 4, which is the appeals process. As always, in the state of Tennessee and with the Textbook Commission, anyone who did not pass on the initial review from our advisory panelists have the opportunity to file an appeal. And we really want to say that in the appeals process for Schedule E, the publishers will be on the September the 12th Textbook Commission meeting, and that will be heard at that time. And at this meeting, each publisher who did present material that did not pass will receive email correspondence that contains a detailed analysis of why they did not pass. It will outline the standards if they were absent or any other thing that was relevant to them, specific information concerning the quality structures, anything that was missing, we have that opportunity. Again, that will be heard on our September 12th meeting. Also, just a little bit of a timeline. They're encouraged to revise materials and submit the revised materials to the Textbook Commission at TennesseeTextbook.tn.gov no later than August 21st, 2025 at 4 p.m. Central Time. Also with that, at our September 12th meeting, the website link to ask to speak will be contained in the email that is sent to the publishers. And again, a request to speak must be submitted no later than August 21st, 2025 at 4 p.m. Are there any questions from our group about those pieces? Again, the September 12th meeting will be where the publishers will have the opportunity to appeal, and then they have to have that appeal submitted by August 21st at 4 p.m. and then permission to speak August 21st at 4 p.m. We will talk about those that did not pass in our regular scheduled meeting so that we can address that with any questions that you have. Any questions? And then as we move forward with our number 5, our Schedule F textbook adoption cycle timeline, I will turn that over to Ms. Lee Houston for her to explain that to us and look at that.
In your notebooks, if you would go to number 7. The process is the same as the other schedules we've had, it's just the dates have changed, and this is for Schedule F, that will be social studies. The 2 CTE sections will be business administration and business management and human services. The first row is for the meetings. So we'll have July 30th, 2025, which is today, when we talk about the rubrics. We will come back on September 12th, January 7th, March 4th, July 29th. That one will be a little bit longer, just because because we have more materials with social studies and with the 2 CTE. So just know when you're planning that meeting will be longer than normal. The summer 2026 for the state board, we do not have that date yet because we don't have the State Board of Education date for that. Then we go to October 1st. And then in fall, again, we don't have the state board date, so that's when we will present to them. The next page is the Department of Education dates. The middle of that is the advisory panelists, when they're chosen, when the applications go on, when they have their screenings and their trainings. The bottom is the publishers and the dates they have to go by as they submit the materials and have reviews and can speak if they need to. And the next page is the rest of the publishers' dates. Those coincide together, but there's 3 different sections just because there's 3 different groups of people that we deal with. So we would like for you to mark those off on your calendar so that we have a quorum, and hopefully this is enough heads up that you kind of know what's going on.
Do you have any questions or concerns about any of these dates?
And you may have said it and I just didn't hear it, was the September 12th date. Do we have a time and place for that yet?
We are hoping here,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Somewhere close to here.
Yes, Murfreesboro, how's that?
So I was looking at July 29th and hoping that we could move it to the previous week. That's possible. But we teachers are in service this week, so it's got to be missing a day.
That's next year.
Yeah,
Next year's
next year.
calendar, correct.
But if we, just to let you know, if we move that, that moves the publishers and the panelists back a week on their reviews and getting things back in. And the reason that we kind of stretch that one out is because there's so many next time with social studies.
Then you must do it earlier.
That makes the panelists have to get their reviews in.
Right,
on
it's just
earlier.
every page.
Probably that's just,
You can.
yeah, it's possible.
Okay.
Any other questions regarding the dates or the timeline for the 25-26 adoption cycle? We will now move into number 6. And remember, this is a workshop agenda, so this is the time to ask questions, to review the material. We are not in a hurry, so let's really dig in a little bit when we look at these. We also have experts from the department here to answer any questions you may have. We really appreciate them being here as well. But if we are looking at our schedule of scoring rubrics, and this is a review, we are going to turn it over to Ms. Lee Houston, Director of Textbook Commission, to kind of guide us through this.
So we asked the department to give us the rubrics ahead of time so that we can look at those a little bit. And they were very gracious in getting those to us, and thank you very much. This is a template. So when we had 3 for social studies, that does not mean that there's only 3 social studies classes. It's by grade band. And the first 3 tables in each grade band does not change for any grade. So if it's a K5, that's the first 3 tables. The standards are provided by the state and the State Board of Education. Those we can't decide, that's decided. But the top ones we can. That's what you were sent this week, and to look over that. So those are the things that we can change or say, send back to the state and say, we would like to have this changed or not changed. We have experts here to go over the rubrics for you and to ask questions. And those are in your binder. And those are also what you got online, the exact same thing. In your binder, it's a little bit smaller on some copies because we were trying to conserve some paper there at some point. So we will let social studies go first. And Michael, you have the floor for questions and presentation, and thank you.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for letting me come and share. Michael Bradburn, Senior Director of Secondary Literacy, Humanities, and Student Opportunities for the department. I get to share work that our new K-12 Social Studies Manager, Rebecca Reed, she transitioned to our department, or to our team in April, and has started working at the request to create these rubrics. So just wanted to walk through some of the things that Lee has spoken about, and then clarify anything that you may need to just make sure that we are getting the rubrics the way that they need to be for the review. So just like Lee had mentioned, one of the important pieces is that you just have one sample of each of the grade bands, like she mentioned. So as you're looking at those, a lot of the information will stay the same depending on the grade level, but then some of it will change, and we'll walk through each of those as well. We also wanted you to know that any feedback that you give today, once the others are created for the different grade levels, that will be carried over. So anything that you all discuss or suggest. And one of the things to clarify, like Lee said, that the grade level standards on each of the rubrics would be specific for that grade level. And then there's also a section on social studies practices. Those do change per grade band. The titles are the same, but the complexity within each of those practices would change. So just wanted to call out that as well, sort of as a general note. And then we wanted to call out some of the things that were the same as the other content areas that have been reviewed previously by the Textbook Commission. So the scoring scale is the same, that 0 to 2 scoring scale. Also, one of the things on the social studies rubric was the standards were moved up to the first table, just to indicate that 100% alignment that you've requested previously from the standards. So that way the reviewers are looking at that as the gateway. Then those other components and indicators are listed in those other tables underneath. Also wanted to call out on all of the rubrics, the conceptual understanding, student engagement, and connections across the content areas. Those have been in the previous content area rubrics as well. So again, just calling that out there. Also, the accessibility features to ensure that all students are getting the supports that they need and are called out in materials aligned with the other content areas. And then that there are also review opportunities and reinforcement of learning for students to meet their needs. That's all on the rubric that has been there for previous. So those are how the rubrics for social studies are the same as previous content areas. But then a couple of things that we wanted to call out that maybe are a little bit different are some social studies specific sections on the content and instruction. So if you look down and you're looking at the rubric, that's right past the standards. You can see that section. And it's really looking at the.
Michael, could you hold just a
Yeah, of
minute?
course.
In our binders, if you will look where the meeting starts, these are at the back of that verse. So if you're in section 2 and you flip through, you'll find those rubrics that you can look at. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I also interject
Yeah.
just briefly? So Michael has mentioned that these are 3 samples of rubrics. They're not explicitly labeled on the documents, but if you're looking at the first set of the rubric, that is grade 3. So the standards that are articulated at the top are grade 3, and then it moves into grade 7 about 3 pages later. And then the final social studies rubric draft is through US history. So just for clarification and familiarity with what exactly we're reviewing and looking at across the 3 different grade bands, as Michael talks further into detail.
Chairman Cash,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Do we have a copy of the standards as they currently exist? When were they updated? And can we get access to a copy of the actual standards?
Yeah, the state standards are posted on the State Board of Education site and also linked on the TNGov site to take you to the state board site. So those are there, and I'm happy to share, Chrissy, if we can just email it out, Lee, and then get it to you all. That's something that we can do for sure.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Dale?
Yeah, and just for, if nobody else's information other than mine, maybe members of the public who could be listening, could you talk a little bit about how those standards are developed and where they come from?
Yeah, so Chrissy, I'll let me start and then you. Yeah, so the State Board of Education, they are responsible for revising those standards. So as a part of that process, it's open to public feedback. Once the public shares that feedback, it goes through 2 cycles of revisions. The first cycle, then is another re-review with public feedback, then a second cycle, and then State Board approves those changes. As a part of that link that you'll get, there is a crosswalk that would help that the State Board also created in order to show where the shifts happened and occurred within the standards to help kind of see where things stay the same and also where some of those revisions occurred. Does that
Mr.
help?
Bell, when we start the Schedule F, those new standards are on our side as well. Right now, it's still the old standards. The new ones are not available, so that's why we don't have anything printed out, because it's not available right now with the standard. Those will be in the fall.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that good? Yeah, okay, so if you look at table 2 for the instructional focus, just wanted to call out the components there, specifically around questioning to support students, student inquiry as they're thinking about the standards, disciplinary literacy, just thinking about making sure the students have the skills they need to be able to read and understand that literacy component related to social studies, making sure that multiple perspectives are represented and student-centered learning. So again, just putting the students at the forefront. So if you're flipping through, you're looking at table 2, instructional focus, and then those indicators are listed down the left side. The next section that you'll see, so if you'll flipping to table 3. I'll flip as well. That's going to be the social studies practices. So as a part of the state standards that the state board approved, there are social studies practices that are embedded in each grade level's content. And those are to give teachers the information to help support their students as they're thinking through the social studies standards. That was called out separately in this table just to ensure that the materials that are offered for review meet the rigor of that information to ensure students are doing the level of thinking necessary to be successful. And then table 4 would be those accessibility features. Again, those are the same features that have been on the other previous content area rubrics that you've reviewed, just to ensure that students' needs are being met in the classroom and that all students have access to high quality instruction within the materials. So that's a general overview of what is the same and then what is also a little bit different around the social studies rubric.
Michael, just to clarify, because we were trying to find everything.
Yeah.
So the first table was the standards for 3rd grade social studies. Table 2, you said was those instructional focus is similar to all the other subjects.
Yes,
And then
that's right.
table 3 is specifically for social studies. Table 4 is the same.
You got it. And so just to further clarify, in table 1 with the state standards, those would be grade level specific or course level. So once you get into high school, it would be the specific course that would be there for the standards. Then for table 2, those would all be the same for all of the grade levels. So then if you get to table 3, those would be different per grade band. So as opposed to looking, and I've got an example. So one of the grade bands is for K2 is gather information from a variety of sources. But then in 3.5, it's gather information from a variety of sources, which is the same. Then it's collect data and information from a variety of primary and secondary sources. And then in 9th grade, it's that same list. So again, there may be a little bit of rigor difference based on the grade band, but that would be the only different.
And are these standards the new standards listed or?
So the ones that you're looking at for these three examples are the revised standards that are approved for implementation. Yeah.
Yes,
One
sir.
more question, so when the state board develops standards, are they working completely from scratch? Or is there some direction either in statute or rules about what those standards should be, or again, you just working from nothing and create the standard? Tell me a little bit about that process.
So I have had the privilege of being on the math standards review previously, prior to coming to the department. And so typically the standards during the process that I was involved in, and that's what I can speak about if that's okay. We have the standards with feedback from the public that then the experts that were hired to do that. So a similar process that you all use to hire your advisory panel, they hire reviewers. There are two different sets of reviewers that do that. And then as a part of that process, they typically utilize the current standards that are in play, the feedback from stakeholders, conversations from the experts in the room, and make suggested revisions. So that's typically the process that state board, and I'm not sure if there is a specific layout of what that process looks like, other than there are specific groups that have to be a part of that process.
One question that I have that this body had requested to be on everyone is that all Tennessee laws are followed and in compliance. And I'm not, and this is small, so I'm not seeing where that is in the evaluation. Is there a place where that's in there?
And so it's not specifically called out on the rubrics. Typically, I think in the math, and correct me if I'm wrong, that was a part of the training that occurred to call that out for the reviewers.
I think it was in the rubric. I think we specifically requested that it be in the rubric.
Okay.
If we can check that, Hayden, just to be sure.
Where would you like that added, Dr.?
And I'm going from memory, but I believe we had it somewhere close to where we had the standards, that was one of the ratings and standards. We, like Michael, might want to go all the way back to math to see where that was placed.
Dr. Cash, if I may. I would also encourage the commission to consider which, as there are many specific Tennessee laws as it pertains to materials and as it relates to social studies, need to be explicitly reviewed and called out, because essentially if we're putting that type of indicator and information on the rubric, then the responsibility then falls to the review committee members to ensure that all materials are in legal compliance, whereas, and I believe we've had conversations as a group about this before, just about, their area of expertise is more subject matter content. So I would just consider the language that may be added if there's an indicator that's included to the review rubrics around what specifically they're looking for, as many of the social studies concepts and contents are called out in TCA, and or others that might be of purview to the commission that you'd like to specifically have review.
And thank you for that clarification. We don't want our experts to dig into that, but we also know that was a part of the discussion and trying to be sure that we were in compliance with Tennessee state laws. And we looked at, in particular, the one that we all know, is it appropriate for the grade level? So those were the things that were talked about and looked at. And so with Hayden and Lee's help and also working with the department, we can come up with those so that this body can come back and clarify what needs to be. Am I wrong? Is my memory wrong? Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. So the reviewers and the publishers, they're getting the state statutes also with regards to what's required to
Yes,
teach.
but it would really be on the textbook companies themselves to ensure that those were in compliance.
Right.
So that's really where that falls, is on the textbook companies. Because they do have to abide by state laws, and so maybe it's in a place where we need to really look at where does that actually go. Okay.
And if I may, so whenever the publisher submits a bid, then if by chance their bid has been accepted, material passes and the state board approves it, when the publishers sign a contract as well with the state of Tennessee, there are terms and conditions in there that state that they agree that their material is in compliance with Tennessee law, and that they don't violate Tennessee law with their material. So they also sign multiple documents and contracts that more or less say the same thing that what we're discussing today.
And again, I'm coming from a memory of many years ago, but I believe this was the same discussion we had at that, where does this actually go? But it does fall on the textbook companies. It's not on our reviewers. They are content experts, not legal experts. So, but we do have a review slide, I believe, in that just to make them aware. But that's not actually their responsibility. It is the textbooks company's responsibility. So maybe we need to dive into that a little bit to see.
That would be correct. And then just from the most recent advisory panel training that we had in April, Department of Education does train those advisory members to look at certain things as it relates to Tennessee law, sort of prohibited concepts. If we're talking about a subject that touches on Common Core, all of those things, Department of Education individuals, subject matter experts, they do train the advisory panelists on those things and how to look for those when reviewing texts as well. If by chance they do come across something like that, how to flag it and who to send that to as well. So.
Thank you.
Dr. Cash, do you want that on the slide in training or do you want it in the rubric or both?
Well, I think that's what we need to investigate.
Okay.
And Michael, if I'm thinking we might not have put that in the rubric. We may have put it in those guidance for the textbook providers. So I'm just not the publishers.
I think that may be right, just looking at the previous rubrics for the content areas
Right.
and what Christy had said about
And
the
then
reviewer's expertise as opposed
that
to.
we wanted the department to be sure we were covering those with the training that if they saw it or something, it was flagged and sent. So if we could just follow up on that and be sure we've got that covered. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I remember it. I just don't remember the where.
I don't remember the solution.
Dr. Cash, if I also make again, the department will bring the training content for the commission to preview, just as we have done and our
Yes.
teams have done previously. So if there are, findings that need to be further reiterated or referenced during the training with the subject matter experts that are doing the reviews, we're happy to provide that to the commission and allow, feedback and input with how that training is specifically shaped or referenced and talked about in terms of the things that you're identifying as concern.
And for clarification, I don't think that this panel gets into the depth of the content, but just the overall view, being sure that this has been presented and so that we're in compliance with Tennessee law. So we're not content experts, so we don't want to do it like that.
And I remember maybe 3 years ago, a couple publisher submissions got rejected because they specifically mentioned Common Core.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
can't remember,
Yeah.
maybe math.
It was
I think
math.
it was math.
It was
I think
math.
Yeah,
But I
And-
don't know where we held.
that's right. Yep.
So y'all have work to do.
Thank you.
But it does need to be in there, and that was actually voted on by this commission to be sure we.
And Lee, you'll just let us know, if we need to add it to the rubric or what that guidance is after we look and
Yes.
talk about it. Okay, because we'll add it wherever.
And for consistency, we just need to be sure that the way we did it with math that we're following through, because it did work because it got flagged. Thank you. Any other comments or discussions on the schedule and exploring group?
I've got one
Yes,
question
sir.
or comment. So having looked over the new standards and also the crosswalk where you can compare the old standards and the new standards, there's some content that's been moved between grade levels. So I was going to ask the department maybe at our next meeting if we could have just a quick rundown of the timetables of what's been moved, just to show the plan to eliminate redundancies and also gaps in material.
And you're correct, there was a shift, specifically in the lower grades, there was a shift, and then it seems like there was another shift somewhere else.
It's like between third and
Yes,
fourth grade.
between third and fifth grade, there was a shift.
Yeah.
because I complained about it, I specifically remember. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we will, move over into our scheduled meeting before we,
Wait a minute.
is in,
CTE has to.
oh, CTE, sorry. Oh, Arlette, Robinson would be very.
Sorry, sorry, sorry.
She would let you know.
Yes, CTE.
So Daniel Aldridge, Director of Career Technical Education. We have two programs that will be coming under review this year. Actually, I want to start by saying thank you for bringing CTE back, to textbook adoption cycle. It's much needed. I think that goes without saying where we stand as a state with the focus that's been put on CTE and making sure our students are ready for a career. But we're following the same rubric that was in place for last year as far as that was used with like manufacturing. So no changes there. Some of the questions that were asked previously as far as standards go, very much the same process, falls underneath our advisory committees. Those are made up of secondary, post-secondary, and then industry professionals. Collect that information, put the standards together, and then it's put out for public comment and revisions. Any questions about?
Any questions from the commission? I do have one. It's more of an observation versus a question. When I started reviewing and looking, it appears that CTE doesn't have the depth of published material that would pass our Tennessee standards. So thinking in those terms, I know that there's a lot of open source material out there and pieces like that. From your department, do you guys make recommendations for some of those, or do you provide the open resources for them? Because CTE is near and dear to my heart, and we push pretty hard, but getting materials in their hands doesn't seem like there's enough published material out there to go through the approval process.
And I would agree with you on that to an extent. It's getting better. Because we've kind of went from a broad range to more focused programs of study now. So it's able to kind of streamline it a little bit. I have a manufacturing background. It's all machine shop and engineering for 16 years, and I never had a textbook that would cover everything. And I think now you're seeing, now that we've focused in, for instance, machining, you've got some publishers now that have dedicated machining curriculum. So we're seeing more and more of that in other areas, but there are still some programs that you're going to have to look for some open source type things.
And I haven't been digging enough to be quality, but also aligning with the industry standards now is extremely important, because what we want are our students to be able to go out and have jobs and work. And so the more industry standards that they're exposed to and working on is extremely important. So just hoping that we are focusing on those areas, and hope that this gets better, this gets better, so they have more opportunities to.
And we rely heavily on our industry partners as far as seeking those changes, even the things that they think may be coming down in the near future, just so we can be prepared and are not playing catch up. These ladies may have more input as far as specific to their programs. If you have content specific questions.
Do we require 100% of the standards to be addressed for CTE textbooks as well?
Yes.
Would it be helpful if we lowered that so that they had some sort of textbook rather than, like, if they did 80% of the standards, would that be helpful? And then they would just have to supplement for the rest of it? Like, what could we do to make it a little bit?
I think based on my previous experience, I would say yes, and I see them shaking their heads. I think you could get, again, a lot of open source.
Percentage would be fair.
I think 100% is unrealistic in a lot of our programs. 80 is probably still pretty high.
But still make it worth purchasing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So what do you, as
75 would probably be
So from a viewpoint of a director of schools, one of the things that I see is that when we don't provide for our teachers the materials and things they need, that they are then on the hunt. Like they're trying to find something that fits that standards I think at least 100% of the standards should be addressed. I think that because what I see is they're stretching. Now, they're going to do it anyway, because a lot of times in the CTE world, the fast-paced changes that happen in the business world kind of force us into doing some things a little differently. So I think that's a deep discussion to have with your CTE directors before this body starts to, change anything. I would love to see some deep dives with your
And I'll be glad to have
your
that
directors
conversation.
and get some feedback from them to advise us on which way to go. If you go too low, then you're leaving a hole. And I don't want our teachers to be in a hole because they're responsible for the standards. And we want our students to go out and I think deeper discussions have to happen before we can change direction.
I think too with this, in education and in our CTE world, as you say, if we stick to 100%, we have teachers coming in from industry that are trying to learn to be a teacher.
Yes.
And so we're grasping at straws and we're taking anything we can get our hands on. So then you look at how good is the product that they're grasping, because they're trying to get through, where a textbook is a resource instead of searching the internet all day, every day, looking for the next day.
Yes.
And we are a very broad topic. And so 75, 80%, but of course, having that discussion is better than zero. I taught for 14 years in nutrition, dietetics, and I was using college textbooks because they were the only ones I could get my hands on that had good information to use, where I was not having to create the curriculum every single day. And you've got some teachers teaching maybe 6 preparations with nothing. And so we really are needing a resource of something. And 80% of standards being taught or, captured in that book would be gold for these people.
I guess my concern, Dr. Castro, if there's no text, like if no textbook passes for that particular subject, then we have nothing but I agree with you. I think the whole thing would be better, but that was my question, since there's not enough publishers, if we don't have any choice, would 80% be better? But I guess that's above our pay grade.
Yeah, I really think the people that work in the field and work on the ground are the ones to guide us on that. But I would also say that even in today's function where we are, teachers have the leeway. If what they have didn't go deep enough, or they needed to extend it, they have that leeway to work with their supervisors to extend the learning and to pull more material. So I definitely think they have to have something, but a little more comprehensive questioning and working with your CTE directors and the teachers would really help us to redefine maybe what that needs to look like, because the material that's in CTE and the courses that are in CTE are really rich, and so it's also very vast. So I think we've got time. And I look at the one on technology changes so fast. So, or just thinking in the terms of your world actually changes a little faster than reading and math and social studies. Any other questions? So I guess my question to you is, could you possibly within this year work with your CTE directors and teachers and give this board more guidance before maybe the next cycle?
I'll bring that up in our next CTE directors meeting. We meet quarterly, so I'll make sure that's a agenda topic for that meeting.
And let them know we're trying to help.
Yeah.
We're not trying to put more work on them.
They were all excited about CTE being brought back to the table, so it's an easy topic to discuss. A welcoming topic, I guess I should say.
Yeah, those CTE things get a little heated too. Any other questions?
I would only ask the question, do you all resource other departments of education, other state departments of education, like the state of Florida, who seems to be really leading the charge? Are you all in touch with their departments of education to see what they're doing that we might be able to apply here in Tennessee?
We really follow advanced CTE as a whole. As a matter of fact, their national conference is going to be in Nashville this year, so they're coming to Tennessee. But we try to mirror what they're doing because it's kind of overarching, and most of the states are adopting, their practices and content. But as far as reaching out to other states, we do look at what they do. We haven't necessarily worked one-on-one with the other state.
Any other questions or comments? As we move into our meeting, we'll close the workshop and move into our regular scheduled meeting. So I'd like to call to order the July 30th, 2025 Tennessee Textbook and Instructional Materials Quality Commission. And at this time, we would like to have a roll call vote. Sorry, I'm jumping.
Dr. Linda Cash,
Here.
Ms. Becky Atkinson,
Present.
Mr. Mike Bell,
Present.
Mr. Billy Bryant. Here. Ms. Katie Capshaw,
Present.
Ms. Lori Cardoza Moore,
Here.
Dr. Rebecca Farley.
Here.
Mr. Daniel French. Here. Dr. Kathy Hickey.
Here.
Dr. Cherry Robertson.
Present.
Dr. Christy Wall.
Present.
Ms. Nikki Jones Wallace.
Thank you. In number C, we have introductions of the commission members, and we can start in this direction with the department. If you would start there.
Nikki Jones Wallace is the lottery coordinator representing the Department of Education.
Christy Wallace, Assistant Commissioner for Academics for the Department of Education, representing the commission.
Becky Atkinson, Public School Librarian, representing Cumberland County.
Jerry Robertson, representing Lebanon Special School District.
Lori Cardoza Moore, representing the parents in Middle Tennessee, and I was appointed by Speaker Sexton.
Billy Bryan, appointed to the commission by Governor Lee from West Tennessee and representing high school teachers.
Mike Bell, appointed by Lieutenant Governor McNally. I live in East Tennessee and citizen member.
Linda Cash, appointed by Lieutenant Governor McNally, and I am in the Southeast region.
Katie Capshaw, I'm a school librarian from Middle Tennessee, and I was appointed by the lieutenant.
Kathy Hickey from Bristol, Tennessee, appointed by the Lieutenant Governor.
Formerly Cumberland County Director of Schools, and vaccine percent.
Daniel French, West Tennessee rep, appointed by Governor Lee.
Thank you. I'm glad that we are all still here. We have our consent items. This is a voice vote. Do I have a motion for the adoption of the agenda?
Motion.
Do I have a second? Hearing a motion for a first and second, could we have a voice vote, please? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. No opposed. Consent adoption passes. On number 3, we have a no vote, but just an announcement. Public comments received on Schedule E materials. There were no public comments received unless they've come in since. So we had no public comments on Section C. We are now on item 4. These are action items. They require a roll call vote. We have approval of the minutes for March 13th, 2025. Do I have a motion for the approval of the minutes of March 25?
Motion.
I have a motion and I have a second. Could we do a roll call vote, please?
Dr. Linda Cash,
Aye.
Ms. Becky Atkinson,
Aye.
Mr. Mike Bell.
Aye.
Mr. Billy Bryant.
Aye.
Ms. Katie Capshaw.
Aye.
Ms. Lori Cardoza Moore.
Aye.
Dr. Rebecca Farley.
Aye.
Mr. Daniel French.
Aye.
Dr. Kathy Hickey.
Aye.
Dr. Cherry Robertson.
Aye.
The motion passes.
We are moving on to B, Schedule E, Advisory County Scoring Report and Preliminary Scores of the Materials. I would also, would you like to review any of that again? Are we good? Do you?
We're good unless you go ahead and go over the passive.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote and then let you review that, okay? Schedule E advisory panel scoring report. Do we have a motion for approval?
Motion approved.
Second?
Second.
I'll roll call vote, please.
Dr. Linda Cash,
Aye.
Ms. Becky Atkinson,
Aye.
Mr. Mike Bell, Mr. Billy Bryan.
Aye.
Ms. Katie Capshaw.
Aye.
Ms. Lori Cardoza Moore.
Aye.
Dr. Rebecca Farley.
Aye.
Mr. Daniel French.
Aye.
Dr. Kathy Hickey.
Aye.
Dr. Cherry Robertson.
Aye.
The motion passes.
And with this vote, I would like to ask Ms. Lee Houston, if you would just give us a summary of the ones who at this point have passed the bill.
Have passed. And this will be in behind number 5. Lifetime Wellness, E-Dynamic Learning passed, Human Kinetics passed, Computer Science Foundations, no pass, Computer Systems, no pass, Web Design Foundations, Code HS passed, Networking, no pass, Coding 1, Code HS passed, Coding 2, no pass, Cybersecurity, no pass, Cybersecurity 2, no pass, Cabling and Internet Working, we have nothing submitted, Data Science 1 and 2, nothing. Mobile app development, we have nothing that passed. Website development, nothing passed. Principles of manufacturing, nothing submitted. Principles of machining 1, Goodhart Wilcox passed. Principles of machining 2, Cengage Learning passed. Welding 1, CEV Multimedia passed. Welding 2, CEV Multimedia passed. Digital electronics, nothing submitted. Introduction to industrial maintenance, no pass. Oh, sorry, Goodhart Wilcox did pass. Sorry, got on the wrong row. Megatronics, 1, nothing passed, and Megatronics 2, nothing submitted. On the page, advanced industrial maintenance, nothing submitted. Robotic and automated systems, Goodhart Wilcox passed. Principles of engineering and technology, nothing passed. Engineering design 1, CEV media, passed. Engineering design 2, nothing passed. STEM 1 foundations, nothing passed. STEM 2 applications, CEV multimedia, passed. STEM 2, STEM and context, CEV multimedia, passed. STEM Explorers, middle school, CEV multimedia, passed. STEM Innovators, middle school, CEV multimedia, passed. And STEM Designers, middle school, CEV multimedia, passed. All the ones who failed can appeal if they did not pass on first time.
Do we know if any of these have appealed yet, or?
They won't know till after this meeting.
Oh,
if
actually,
they pass
hey,
or
this
fail.
is actually when it's being revealed. My goodness. And I look at that and I go, well, my first question is, do we have a standard that can't be met? My second question is, and of course, these would be answered, are all these like technical fails and gonna be a simple fix? And I just looked at it, just kind of blew my mind away, how many failed. Yeah.
It also is broken down by the publisher as well.
Yeah. So the one publisher, I think, I found one pass and several dozen failed. So just, all right. Those are questions that'll be answered later, but questions I'm curious about when I see that list right there.
And they have not, CTE has not had any reviews in years.
Okay.
And so there was a big jump from what they had or didn't have anything
Okay.
to actually having something now. So that was the first time the publishers have done this in many years.
And that was my question. So if they fail this, where they're just relying on what they've used in the past, which we don't know what they've used in the past because they haven't had a review in so long, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Chairman, my question was also, what is it specifically that they failed from? Was it because of standards? Was it, you know?
Some
do
just
they
were
not
on the
have
tables, like they just didn't have, some of the rigor that was needed, or they didn't have enough examples or enough interdepartmental where they could go on site and do the things. Some of that was that. There were a publisher or two that didn't have standards and that sort of thing. That was.
So the notification would be specifically to
Yes,
the
you're-
publisher, what they failed, what area,
Mhm.
whether it was more examples or whatever.
Yes. So just like the rubric that you just looked at, they will get the rubric and this will say failed, 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 failed. And they'll know this is what failed, this is what gets fixed.
Okay.
And so when it's appealed, they will correct those, the reviewers will look at those, and yes, they have it now, or they still don't have it.
So we could potentially be looking at a lot of.
A lot, well, all those ones that have failed,
Yeah.
could pass if they
That's right.
beef it up.
So, Dr. Cash, too, what we were speaking about earlier, I wonder if we could take what we've learned from this and the failure and what they failed, and then have that discussion with your CTE directors. And then maybe for our next round, we could be a little bit, you could inform us, am I on the right track here as to how we can, I see all these fails, and that was my concern with asking that question about 100% standards. I know for like English, that should be what you should be able to do, but for CTE, I can see how that could be tricky.
And Ms. Katie, they still have the chance to appeal these.
Correct.
Same thing with,
So if they can
the
fix this,
last
we're in good
good
shape.
science, we had a lot who failed the first time. And then the ones that put forth the effort fixed it, and the ones that didn't have effort just chose not to do it. They were just kind of hoping.
And the same thing with math, that happened in math as well.
Right.
Okay, so maybe we're just pushing the publishers to do better.
And I will say that prior to the commission changing the expectations and the rubrics, the teachers did not get quality material.
True.
And so we really want quality material in their hands, so, and I am estimating it's been at least 8 years or more since we reviewed CTE. So we're kind of in a, we're catching up, we're trying to make it right.
Yeah.
Dr. Cash, this report will be sent to the, State Board of Education for their August 15th meeting for the first reading.
That's a lot. Yeah, we could have a lot, and that's good if we do. That's really good if we do. That was a lot. I really hope that the publishers step up. I really do. So we are now on the C, Schedule F textbook adoption cycle timeline. We reviewed that in the work session. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Do I have a second? I have a second. Are there any discussions? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Dr. Linda Cash,
Aye.
Ms. Becky Atkinson,
Aye.
Mr. Mike Bell,
Aye.
Mr. Billy Bryan.
Aye.
Ms. Katie Capshaw,
Aye.
Ms. Lori Cardoza Moore,
Aye.
Dr. Rebecca Farley,
Aye.
Mr. Daniel French,
Aye.
Dr. Kathy Hickey,
Aye.
Dr. Cherry Robertson.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you. D, it is a standing item. Library material appeals is us on our regularly scheduled meeting, and at this time, I do not believe we have any appeals.
We do not.
We have no appeals. Do we have anybody requesting to speak for public comment?
We do not.
We have reviewed the 2025 commission meeting dates. Would you like to review those one more time, please?
The only one that's left for this adoption cycle is September 12th.
Yes.
And we've been notified that it's okay to have it here.
Okay.
So
our next meeting will be September the 12th at 10 o'clock at the MTSU library.
That's from Friday too, if I remember right, isn't it? It is Friday.
And that might be long because the appeals are coming.
No, the appeals will not become till.
It may be long, the September 12th meeting, because any publisher that
That is
has
correct.
appealed, they have the ability to speak and present.
I told you October for next year. You're good, I'm sorry.
So we have a regular scheduled meeting on September the 12th, 2025. And then we have number 7, other business from the commission. I do have, in regards to the appeals process for September 12th, just so that we're clear, I do have official words to read. The appeals process for Schedule E publishers in the September 12th Textbook Commission meeting, in which appeals of Schedule E will be heard. After this meeting, each publisher who had material that did not pass upon the initial review of today will receive an email correspondence that contains a detailed analysis from each reviewer outlining the standards that were absent, if any, as determined by each individual reviewer. Specific information concerning the quality structures if the materials fell below 80%. Publishers are encouraged to revise material and submit the revised materials and content to the Textbook Commission via email, tennessee.textbook@tn.gov, no later than August 21st, 2025 at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. No submissions will be received after this deadline. Publishers submitting an appeal and revised material and content by August 21st, 2025 may also request to speak at the upcoming September 12th, 2025 meeting of the Textbook Commission. The website link to submit a request to speak will be contained in the email publisher received after this meeting. A request to speak must be submitted no later than August 21st, 2025 at 4 p.m. Central Time. No submissions will be received after this deadline. The request to speak is an opportunity for the publisher in person to present their appeal and their materials to the Textbook Commission during the September 12th, 2025 Textbook Commission meeting. Publishers wishing to appeal and requesting to speak will be given 10 minutes to present the revised material in response to the deficiencies outlined in this correspondence and attachments, or 30 minutes for multiple band appeals. So if it's multiple bands, they will have 30 minutes. Subjects must be addressed during the appeal. A 15-minute question and answer period will be conducted by the Textbook Commission with the publisher following the presentation. Then the Textbook Commission will take 15 to 30 minutes to deliberate and decide. Please note, the Textbook Commission may choose to consult with the department content experts to check for standards alignment or quality metric divisions, and the department will be there to help us with those reviews. Between August 21st and September 12th, appealed material that has been resubmitted to the Textbook Commission will be reviewed and rescored. If after this, a publisher's material has passed the requirements set forth here and above and comply with Textbook Commission Policy 2.500, the publisher will receive notification via email, and the publisher will have the opportunity to withdraw their request to speak at the September 12th, 2025 Textbook Commission. So upon the review, if they pass, they won't necessarily have to come in person. If the publisher, after having reviewed the email and attached documents outlining the review of their submitted materials for bid, has further questions about the appeals process, the publishers are encouraged to email tennessee.textbooks@tn.gov with their questions. On behalf of the Textbook Commission, we thank you all for participating in this instructional material review process. That is for clarification for our publishers. It will also be emailed to them, and any questions can be sent to that email address. Are there any other questions or concerns about the process for appeals? Hearing none. Any other questions or concerns about any other items that you would like to bring to the commission?
Chairman Cash. We had spoken briefly about changing the qualifications or expanding the qualifications of the panelists. So that the score of the panelists was not heavily weighed by whether they had, served on previous committees before. and expanding it so that people with qualifications, because over the last couple of years that I've been doing this, there have been 2 people that applied, but because they had never served on a committee before, they basically were disqualified. And they were not chosen to be one of the reviewers in the curriculum, specifically the math.
I believe we addressed this at our last meeting when we reviewed that there was language that was changed on that where they could add more opportunities to show their expertise. And then that solved it. Plus it's a 2-pronged piece where they're also being evaluated on their content knowledge and their experience within the content. If that is something that the commission as a whole would like to review in the next process, we can do that. But we do believe we added that in there. And we can send that back out after this, when we start the new adoption cycle, we can look at it again. You're welcome. Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.